The presence and use of high-powered weapons and ammunition in our country is beyond menacing. The analysis of murders in our country in the year 2011 shows that the weapon of choice for 71% or 91 of the 127 murders committed in the Bahamas was a firearm. Just this week, we arose to the horrific news of the killing of the son of a notable Bahamian diplomat serving abroad, who was said to have been gunned down by what appeared to be bullets from a high-powered weapon, or what we call an AK-47. After being silent for about 4.5 years, the present government, which has failed the Bahamian people in their response to crime generally, launched an amnesty period on turning in guns and ammunition. They also made a weak pledge to call for the formation for a special task force for guns and drugs. The Progressive Liberal Party, months earlier, shared with the Bahamian public a comprehensive plan on crime with specific measures for gun interdiction, as well as stiffer penalties for the possession of high-powered weapons and ammunition. In our Safe Bahamas initiative, in addition to amnesty period, the PLP has promised increased patrols of our seas and thereby heightened interdiction of our docks, harbors, and airports by the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and police forces. Inland, we have rolled out detailed programs to curb violence as it potentially unfolds in hotspots in our communities, which we know to be plagued with gun violence. Special strike force teams and saturation patrols will be deployed where police intelligence confirms that armed felons are likely to wreak havoc. Through the award-winning community policing component of our Urban Renewal 2.0, ordinary citizens volunteered their time and valuable information. Sorry, that would be the Urban Renewal program that we previously had. Ordinary citizens volunteered their time and valuable information, partnering with the protection of their communities until well after 3 a.m. at nights. We pledge, through Urban Renewal 2.0, a more comprehensive volunteerism component to restoring peace in our communities. But more than this, the Progressive Liberal Party has boldly announced that as part of our Swift Justice Initiative, we will implement stiffer penalties for the illegal possession of guns and ammunition. Yes, we have sent a strong warning that after a lenient amnesty period, especially in cases where we know that the illegal possession of a high-powered weapon is or was intended to be used in the further commission of a crime, that person found in possession shall automatically be tried in the Supreme Court, where the sentencing guidelines are stiffer. We will be ready on day one to move the requisite legislation to see this speedily to fruition. We end this afternoon by calling on all Bahamians who may know of a friend, family member, or neighbor in possession of firearms for the sale or use of those firearms to please do the right thing and either encourage them to stop their contribution to violence or to call in and give a tip to the police. 91 persons died in 2011 alone through the use of illegal, high-powered weaponry, at least one of whom was an innocent girl caught by a stray bullet. But we know that guns kill people. We know that guns do not kill people of their own. People kill people. Hence, we ask that together we and these senseless acts of violence, that we end these senseless acts of violence and return to the ideals and principles which once knitted us together and gave us a reputation of being peaceful.
It has been said in cases in the Privy Council and in other jurisdictions that Parliament interfering with the discretion of the magistrates and the judiciary is seen to be unconstitutional. So the fact that they have tried to indicate what should be a mandatory minimum, every case cannot be treated as the same. I think that the penalties need to be stiffer, even higher sentences than what has been given. But you have to be very careful because many persons now would benefit. You would open a floodgate when there is one case overturned similar to the case where there was a mandatory death penalty for murder. That has now been overturned, and now we have a situation where there's a floodgate been opened for persons who have been sentenced to death for murder. They now have to be resentenced. So we want to put laws in place that we don't have to go through all of this. Bear in mind, the Constitution also speaks about delay. So if we start by not putting the laws in effect properly and then they have to be overturned, that's going to be added into the delay. The delay that is not counted is the delay caused by the defendant. But if the delay is caused by the system itself, that is counted. And you have a constitutional relief to be given some sort of benefit if you were not tried within a reasonable period of time. So I feel the mandatory minimum, also there was some dispute when the law first came into force that everybody with possession of a firearm should not be granted bail. But when we did careful examination of the law, we saw that it was only possession of a firearm with the intent to endanger life. So that also has to be revisited. And what I say is we need to revisit it early. As Ms. Strachan would have said, on day one, we are looking to put these initiatives into place, not a few months before election. This is when you make mistakes because you're being rushed.